It really is an exciting moment right now because the Fund Our Future campaign has changed the conversation in Massachusetts about public education. And we don't just mean public education up to grade 12. We mean public education pre-K through higher ed. The priority in this state is having a fully funded pre-K through 12 education and a way for students to come out of college with no debt. And so, big love to the Fund Our Future campaign, the MTA and everyone who comes together around this campaign to fight for these issues. I think we all know that many people in this building come to work and we want to do what's right by our children, from pre-K all the way up to higher ed. But it's people who hold us accountable, people who are organized.
To echo the sentiment of Senator Comerford, we have some great partners, the Fund Our Future campaign and the MTA, and individuals all across the state who have said that it is time to invest in not just public higher education, but all 29 campuses across the state.
When Mary and I and the entire Fund Our Future coalition, that includes people who are here, like from AFT and Phenom and Citizens for Public Schools and the Mass Education Justice Alliance, when we launched that campaign, we did so with this principle in mind that we believe in universal, high-quality public education, pre-K through higher ed, as a right of every resident in the Commonwealth.
We think of higher education more broadly, as a key part of developing our economy. Simply put, we're just putting more of the burden of higher ed onto our families who can't necessarily afford it.
So what I want to do here is to have people come to understand what has happened in the community colleges, but in higher ed in general with regard to adjunctification and the gig economy. The adjunct faculty cannot even stay at the place where they are hired because they don't give office space. They're simply not there. And so not only are they not given office space or paid to offer an office hour, sometimes, as it is because they're unbenefited, because there's no way for a person to really make ends meet by teaching the one class or the two class, they have to teach all over the Commonwealth. I know that for a lot of us it's kind of academic, there are numbers that get thrown around, but if you really think about your own children, if you think about yourself and the experience you have, you realize this is untenable. This is an untenable situation. It is not something we can sustain. We have to get funding back.
I am a proud graduate of Bridgewater State University, and when I stepped into the classroom for the first time, it dawned on me that this is my work, my life work. So I stand before you today to say that my students deserve more, and I'm willing to give them more if the opportunity, let me change that, when the opportunity presents itself.
As state funding has declined, tuition and fees went up almost at the exact same angle, right? Campuses were making up for the lost money that the state was no longer providing, and they were making it up by switching the burden onto the students and their families. So we want to hear now from one of our key partners, Phenom, the Public Higher Education Network of Massachusetts, and the organizing director, Cindy Little.
Earlier, we saw some statistics about the drop in higher education funding, and those statistics are super startling, right? But what's inexcusable about this divestment or disinvestment in public education is the stories that I hear from students and faculty and staff every single day. So I was talking to a student at UMass Lowell last week who was supposed to graduate last semester, but because of the funding cuts, one of his key classes got cut. And so he had to stay another semester, take on more debt just to finish graduating. And that's not a unique case either. We know students who are taking up to 10 years, students that I know personally because of the cost of education. I know students personally who have experienced homelessness in their time being students, or students who, if not for their position as resident assistants on campus where they get housing, would be homeless. I know students who experience food insecurity on campus and go to a campus where the food pantry isn't fully funded, so there's not fresh foods that they can go receive every day. And they're making these hard decisions between, am I buying groceries or am I paying my tuition bill? These are first-generation college students, low-income college students, non-traditional college students, parents, workers, people with responsibilities. These are the real students of Massachusetts that we are not serving properly. And these are stories that I hear at community colleges, at the state universities, and at the UMass system.
One of the big things we have found is the impact of interest and depreciation. Let me say this first. UMass Boston has definitely become the poster child. It's true of all of our campuses. Sooner or later, all of the buildings on our campuses become outdated. And yes, there's the regular maintenance that needs to happen, but there's really a replacement plan that also needs to happen. Our labs are about 25 to 30 years old now. So the students who are coming in aren't getting experience in using the technology, the resources that they need to have experience in order to find good jobs. So the level of investment in our infrastructure, it really impacts the quality of education that our students are going to be able to get.
We were forced, we really had no choice, we couldn't balance the books. We were forced this summer to have a voluntary separation program, a layoff program. And 82 of our staff and faculty are retiring or finding new jobs as a result. And so that has had impacts to our students and the curriculum, the services we provide. So for example, immediately we had to cut 100 courses over the summer. And what does this mean for our students? So now they're returning in the fall to classes with, instead of 20 students in a high impact class, now you might have 35 students in that class. And so it becomes more difficult as an instructor to be able to do those things we were doing so well, intentionally, to improve the graduation rates.
That we have 29 campuses, we have the UMass system, we have the Board of Higher Education, each of the state universities and community colleges have their own presidents and boards of trustees. It is designed in some ways to be not unified. And that's why I think we're especially pleased to really announce and reveal this letter, which shows that all presidents of state universities and community colleges, and already previously the 5 chancellors of the UMass system have endorsed the Cherish Act. In other words, there's absolute unity in the public higher education system